The knock on my uncle's old cabin door wasn't neighborly. It wasn't the soft tap of someone dropping by for a chat. Not that I had neighbors out here anyway. This knock was hard, deliberate, like it carried a badge of its own. I glanced through the dusty side window. Two men stood on the porch, dressed in dark tactical gear, their postures screaming they owned the ground they stood on. My gut twisted. Something was wrong. "Open the door!" The taller one barked, his fist hammering now. "This is security from Willow Grove Estates. You're in violation." Violation? My cabin sat on 50 acres of private Harper land, deep in the woods of Pine Hollow, miles from any town. No streetlights, no mailboxes, just pine trees, deer, and the echo of my uncle's laughter. I cracked the door, just enough to talk. "Can I help you?" The tall one sneered, pointing toward the river. "You can explain the illegal construction on this property. You need to leave." I gave a slow, tired smile, stepping onto the porch. My coat shifted, revealing the silver star pinned to my belt. "Happy to talk," I said, my voice calm but firm. "I'm Sheriff Caleb Harper of Pine Hollow County, and you know security." The man's face went pale, his eyes darting to my badge, then to the holster at my hip. His partner, hand hovering near his own gun, froze. "Stay put," I said, my tone sharp, the one that stopped trouble in its tracks. But they didn't bolt or beg. Instead, they exchanged a quick nod, turned, and walked back to their unmarked SUV with eerie precision, like soldiers retreating. That's when I knew this wasn't just odd, it was dangerous. Who were they? Why my land? And how many more were coming? Let's back up. This whole mess started 3 months ago, right after I buried my uncle. He'd fought cancer hard, but some fights you don't win. After the funeral, being sheriff felt heavier than ever. The endless reports, the politics, the memories of cases that haunt you. Pine Hollow's small-town charm couldn't shield me from that. So, I started escaping to his cabin on weekends. It was my haven, where the river's murmur greeted me at dawn and the fire's crackle lulled me at night. My land stretched so far I could wander for hours and still be home. No homeowners association, no rules. Just freedom. That is until I decided to fix my uncle's old boat dock by the river. It was rotting, and rebuilding it felt like keeping his memory alive. The day after I laid the first new boards, I found a note pinned to a tree-laminated, official-looking Willow Grove Estates notice. Unauthorized construction. Stop or face consequences. No signature. I laughed it off. No HOA owned this land. I burned the note. A week later, I returned to find cheap yellow tape wrapped around the dock, scrawled with community enforcement. "Do not enter." This wasn't a prank anymore. It was personal. I considered driving to town, flashing my badge, and shutting it down, but this cabin was my escape from being Sheriff Harper. So, I tore down the tape and kept working. Then, my office got hit with an anonymous environmental complaint claiming my dock was polluting the river. Pure nonsense, but it was filed formally, forcing me to send my own deputy to inspect my land. Someone was weaponizing my own system against me. That night, I sat on the porch, my uncle's shotgun across my lap, not out of fear but certainty. Trouble was coming, and it did those two men at my door, their retreat only proving this was bigger than a dock. This was about my land, and they just learned they'd tangled with the wrong guy. I stood on the porch long after their SUV vanished, dust settling in the moonlight. The disciplined exit told me they answered to someone who didn't slip up often. My first move wasn't Radget, it was protocol. I called my deputy, Sarah Vega, the sharpest mind in my department. If anyone could dig up dirt, it was her. "Sarah," I said, "I need you to look into something." Off the record, I described the men, their gear, the SUV, and the name they dropped. Aegis Tactical Group. "Sounds like private military," she said, her keyboard already clicking. "I'll see who's signing their checks." An hour later, she called back. "Caleb, this is messy. That SUV's registered to a shell company in Nevada, owned by another in Montana. Dead end. But Aegis? They're a high-end security firm, and their money every cent traces back to Willow Grove Estates, run by a guy named Victor Crane." Victor Crane. I had my ghost's name. The next morning, I put on my full sheriff's uniform, crisp shirt, tie, county seal on the shoulder. If I was meeting the man behind this, I wanted him to know who he was dealing with. Willow Grove Estates was like stepping into a sterile utopia. A gleaming gate opened silently for my cruiser. The streets were flawless, lined with cookie-cutter mansions and silent cameras on every corner. No kids, no dogs, just eerie quiet. Crane's mansion loomed at the hill's peak, a glass-and-stone fortress. He greeted me himself, all tailored suit and polished charm, but his eyes were cold, predatory. "Sheriff Harper," he said, shaking my hand firmly. "A pleasure. Come in." His office screamed wealth, with views stretching across the county. He offered a drink. I declined. Never trust a snake's hospitality. "Let's cut to it, Mr. Crane," I said. "Your men came to my land, armed, making threats." His face was a mask of concern Oscar-worthy. "Sheriff, I am horrified. My team can be overeager, protecting our community standards." I didn't buy it. This isn't about standards. It's harassment notes, vandalism, fake complaints filed with my office. It stops now. His smile held, but his eyes turned to ice. "A misunderstanding, I assure you. I'll handle it." It wasn't a promise. It was a challenge. I underestimated him. His next move wasn't fists, it was politics. 2 days later, I was called to the county board's head, a bureaucrat named Ellis, who'd pocketed a fat donation from Willow Grove. On his desk was a complaint alleging I'd abused my power, harassing citizens over a personal land dispute. The source? A Willow Grove resident. "Caleb, what's this?" Ellis snapped. "Crane's got influence. They're pushing for an ethics probe. Watch your step." I left fuming. Crane was using my own rules to cage me, turning my badge into a liability. That night, I called Sarah. "He's cornering me. I can't investigate officially without looking dirty." We go rogue. Dig into his finances, his companies. Find a pattern. For days, we hit walls. Crane's empire was a maze of legal shields. Then, Sarah called, her voice electric. "Caleb, I was looking at the wrong thing. He's not just buying land. He's buying rights mineral, water, deep aquifer rights forming a perfect circle around your land. Your 50 acres? It's the bullseye." My heart pounded. The harassment, the soldier's sit wasn't about a dock. It was about what lay beneath. "Why my land?" I asked. "I don't know," Sarah said. "Old surveys show nothing special, but Crane wants it bad." I hired a trusted geologist, Tom Reed, to scan my land with every tool he had. The wait was agonizing. When his report arrived, I skimmed pages of technical jargon: soil, water, bedrock all normal. Then, the final page stopped me cold. Ground-penetrating radar detects a large, artificial subterranean structure at 42.876, minus 112.543. Depth, 80 feet. My uncle's cabin wasn't just a home. It was built over a secret. Crane wasn't after Landa, was after a hidden fortress. I wanted to call the FBI, but Crane's complaint tied my hands. Any move would look like revenge. He'd know I'd found a secret. The word travels fast in Pine Hollow. He'd come for me, and soon. That night, I fortified the cabin. I boarded windows, blocked the back door with my uncle's oak table, and checked his old rifle. I called Sarah. "They're coming tonight." Staged the tactical team at the old quarry on Route 7, 10 minutes out. "Wait for my signal." The Raven calls. "Caleb, don't do this alone," she begged. "No choice," I said. "They'll be watching. Stay ready." At 11:43 p.m., the power died. My phone went dead signal jammer. A twig snapped outside, a deliberate lure. I grabbed the rifle, my pulse steady. Shadows moved. They were pros, flanking me. Glass shattered as gunfire erupted, bullets chewing the walls. I fired back, dropping one man through the front window. Another breached the kitchen. My pistol took him down. A bullet grazed my arm, blood soaking my sleeve. Then, tires crunched gravel. Victor Crane stepped out, calm as death, megaphone in hand. "Sheriff Harper, you could have sold. Now look at this." His voice was silk. "That bunker under your land? A Cold War relic, perfect for my clients when the world burns." I crawled to my radio, pain searing my arm, and whispered, "The Raven calls." Sirens wailed. Crane's smug face twisted as SWAT lights flooded the woods. "Drop your weapons," blared their megaphone. I slumped against the fireplace, alive. "We'd won." Sarah rushed in, her face pale. "Caleb, just a scratch," I rasped as medics worked. Crane was cuffed, his empire crumbling. The FBI took over, sealing my land. Agent Larson, their lead, shook my hand. "You've uncovered a monster." The bunker, dubbed Raven's Vault, was a digital black hole for the ultra-rich blackmail, espionage, hidden fortunes. Crane was their gatekeeper, Willow Grove a facade. My role made me a quiet hero, but the public never heard the truth. Weeks later, I returned to the cabin. Bullet holes scarred the walls, my uncle's chair in tatters. I swept glass, pulled bullets, rebuilt. At his grave, I spoke. "You didn't build an escape, Uncle. You built a stronghold." I won't run. I ran for re-election, not out of duty, but fire. Then one night, my secure line rang. "Sheriff Harper, Deputy Director Hayes, FBI," a voice said. "Crane's gone, but his clients' global players see you as a glitch. They know you. Stay sharp." The line died. My victory was a spark in a larger war. My name was on a ballot and a darker list. What would you do if you found a secret bunker under your home? Would you expose it, knowing it could make you a target? Should small-town sheriffs take on global elites? Or is that a fight too big to win? Comment below, hit like, and subscribe for more stories that pull you in and make you think.